Yeah, okay. Well, so this is Shawn Frasier with Pinnacle Informatics, and he's going to be talking to us about a data project he's working on. So take it away, Shawn.
So one thing that we have been working with a little bit is a little bit of a departure from what we normally do. But we've had some call for some of our clients to utilize the 834, 835, and 837 files that they both produce and for which they get responses back from payers. And so we've undertaken a process to import those files, and so that those can be more easily utilized in reports and dashboards and cubes and things like that. The first one that I want to talk about briefly is the 834 import, and that's enrollment information and maintenance. There's a lot of client information in these, so I can't really show a lot of the reports and things we're working on, but I can show kind of a report, just one of these that we're working on right now. And what this does is it looks at what was sent, so it looks at the initial 834, and then there's a what's called a bad file that they get back that that has all the errors in it, and then they can work those errors, and then they get a good file, what they call a good file, and then in this report, this lets them see by date range what's come back and if a bad file exists. And then they'll get a check mark here, and it indicates, and you can drill into that. You can see what the issue was with that enrollment. And then if a good comes back, then they can see tomorrow or the next day when the file comes back in, if that's been cleared up. And then there's actually one more. There's actually an audit file that I need to add to this report. That will give them either some further information on like retroactive eligibility and things like that. So that's kind of interesting, and this enables them to make sure they're getting everybody eligible and work on eligibility and clear errors. And so far, it's been a big time saver for this agency. We've just barely started looking at this data, so it's very useful thus far, and I think it's going to be more useful. My hope is to put this into a cube so that it's easily accessible from a pivot table, so you can grab any segment of the 834, the type of file, whether it's a bad or good file, and I'll show you a little bit here. Here's some of the types of data. If you look over here on the left, you're going to see the various segment types. And I have both 835, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I have the INS segment, the ISA segment, N1, REF, DTP, and all of these are linked. We have a log table that shows when the files came in and how many records are in each one, and then they all link together. They're in kind of a hierarchy. It can be a ragged hierarchy because you might have various numbers of members at the different levels. So you can come in here and you can build out queries and information to get the data out of those 834s so that you can get some insight into that. And like I said, this is new in the process, but we're hoping to get some more really good analytics out of this as we get down the road. Is anybody here interested in 834? Is there anybody out there that's interested in getting more insight into their 834 data? Anybody have any thoughts about that?
So we send these out of the EMR directly and get the response files back in. But yeah, it'd definitely be something we'd be interested in, and kind of got me thinking about potentially 270, 271 files that show just the eligibility factor for the client or patient, instead of, this is specifically like service-based, encounter-based, but the overall eligibility for the client with that payer. That's a process that we're trying to figure out now, a better way to do it, because it's a very manual process, and I could see it being very similar to this. Yeah, because they're set up in a similar fashion as well.
Excellent. Well, and if there's any input, as we start talking about this more down the road, there may be some input that, or as far as like analytical approaches that you'd be interested in looking at, some questions that you'd like answered from this data that
Absolutely,
we
and
can incorporate.
Seeing trends by payer and everything like that would be very interesting.
Yeah. So another file type is the 837, so enrollment information and maintenance. So the same thing with that. So we're getting the 837 and the 835 files that we send out and then get returned with the errors and those sorts of things. And so those errors can be worked. And I don't have any reports yet on the 837s or 835 processes other than just having the raw data. So like the 834, the 835 and the 837, they have these ISA segments that you can see how much data is in there. It has lots of different interchange information. And then the 837s, same thing. And then, reference, these give you the different types of data that's coming back. And, there's some code, some decoding that we have to do on those. But all of these different segments are coming back in. You can see, and they're all linked up based on a key structure. So that's kind of interesting. And like I said, I think if we can get this to the point where, you can utilize it in a cube or different types of analytical tools, it may be interesting. We may want to run some daily statistics on it to kind of keep statistics over time to see how things are improving. We've had a lot of ideas. So as we get down the road, we'll probably ask for your input if there's anybody interested in talking more about this to enrich this data and see what other kinds of things might be interesting to look at this kind of data. So a little bit of a departure. We haven't done a lot of this kind of stuff in the past with these EDI files, but we did kind of want to show that a little bit and get everybody thinking about it and how it what kind of interesting things might come out of a conversation of this data. So any questions or comments about that?
Yeah, this is Ginger. It seems like this would be, if I know a lot of agencies look for an EHR that can bring that data in and import it into the EHR, but a lot of EHR systems have trouble with that, or maybe it doesn't quite work exactly the way agencies want. So sometimes there's some hesitation around doing that. And so this way the data would live in the data warehouse, so you could still connect it to your data and like get reports off of it and see stuff and combine that data, but it wouldn't have to be it doesn't have to be directly added into your electronic health record. So it seems like a really interesting way to use a data warehouse.
Absolutely. Any other comments from anybody in attendance?
Well, one of the other thing we have, because these exist in our medical record specifically, is there a manual process to kick off? Like, we can't just schedule things to automatically happen. And so somebody has to manually kick it off, where it'd be nice to be able to pull it out of that realm, and then we could have it run as an auto script at a certain time to be able to submit to just free up that time of needing to manually kick it off and make sure that it's run at the time that we need it to be run.
Yeah, and that's kind of our hope, is to automate this. And so if you go in tomorrow, the stuff's been updated, and you don't have to worry about that manual step, and kind of give you some insight. And the hope is maybe down the road to combine it with some of the EHR data. Maybe, I don't know, see if there's a way to do that and get some other interesting insights.
Well, some of that data would also be helpful because some of the HEDIS measures are based on like continuous enrollment in an insurance program versus, and basically most of the agencies I know that are participating in having to submit that data, there just is no way to do that. So they just don't worry about that. But if you ever had like a mandate from a grant or something like that you had to really follow those HEDIS measures like word for word, you'd end up needing to be able to track like whether someone was continuously enrolled in insurance and which exact type of Medicaid they had and those kinds of things. And so something like that could be really useful too.
Yeah. Excellent.
Great. Thanks, Shawn. If you'd like more information about this or any of our other projects at Pinnacle Health Informatics, please email us at info@phidw.com, or you can call us at 971-409-6931. We look forward to talking to you. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.